Is one NFC North tight end about to disappoint as a sleeper this year? Are FFPC players underrating an AFC South running back? And which rookie wide receiver provides the best Footballguys Players Championship value? Plus, 7-time Footballguys League champ Dominic Roti hangs out to talk Chargers running backs, Terry McLaurin, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Let's begin now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Hey, thanks a lot, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you FFPCers and all the Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. As always, I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is indeed the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, we're going to talk about Curtis Samuel's role for the Panthers and your fantasy rosters, what mid-round sleeper tight end you should be targeting, and chat with Dominic Roti about opening his Footballguys drafts with a bunch of running backs and much more. That is all coming up on tonight's show. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you all might have right in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, we are at HSFFhour. I am at Eric Balkman. Dave is at David Gerzak. Dominic is at FFPCDR313, Facebook.com/HSFFhour is where you can connect with us there. 347-426-3682, 347-GAME-OVA if you want to give us a jingle tonight. HighStakesFantasyFootball@gmail.com is where you can send all of your questions. And our audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, our producer, and our mutual friend Rob will get to those questions coming up in the fantasy feedback segment at the bottom of the hour. It's going to be fun. Hey, listen, you looking to have some other fun? Live events are a go with the FFPC main event. Early Bird is ending in 17 days. So if you want, people always ask me, hey, Balky, where can I get the best deal on a main event team? It's right now. It's going on. MyFFPC.com, $100 off your first team, $400 off each additional team after that. And if you want to draft live, from the comfort of your own home or out at Planet Hollywood, either way, you're going to be able to do it this year. $500,000 grand prize there. Speaking of $500,000 grand prizes, that is also going on with the 2020 Footballguys Players Championship in a $3.1 million prize pool. Early bird promotion there ends in 11 days. Register your teams there, draft them before July 15th, and for every time you do that, up to 3 times, you will get a free $35 FFPC team credit. And don't forget, besides those two big contests, we still have the Best Ball Slim Leagues, the Terminator Satellite Leagues, the Super Flex Leagues, Dynasty Startups, other best balls, all available at myffpc.com. I feel like I got the sales portion of the show out of the way, Dave. It is good to have you aboard tonight. We are in mid-June. We are, I feel like we're about 6 weeks away from Pros versus Joes, and times aren't enough for people to register for that drawing.
Yeah, it actually feels like it's been like a long preseason. It feels like it's 5 to 6 weeks until the season starts, actually. But it's a lot longer. There's still a lot of.
Why is that this year? I mean, I know
I think it got busier early. Everything was trapped at home, so I feel like people have been drafting for a long time.
Yeah, they have, and I feel like this year we've had a lot more interest in Dynasty Startups. We've had a lot more interest in best ball leagues. And, you know, as much as I like to toot our own horn here on the HSFFR, there's a lot of podcasts and a lot of websites out there that are really starting to dedicate a lot of their content specifically towards FFPC stuff. And I pay attention to a lot of that. And I just think the exposure has made me more aware of everything going on. But we still got some time to go before, the main events start up and before we hit 4th of July. But it's all, I mean, early birds are running out, and we're going to be announcing Pros vs. Joes on this show in like 3 weeks or whatever it is. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I actually give a ton of credit to Alex. Alex has really done a fantastic job of, creating, whether it's, marketing deals or partnerships, working with a lot of these content sites. There's a lot of really good people in the industry. If he wanted to be an ad executive on Madison Avenue or whatever, he would be actually really good at it. He's just good with talking to people, just like an office space.
Right. Yes. Speaking of Alex lining up media partners for us. So I was on Rotoballer Radio earlier this morning, and we were talking about Father's Day weekend and everything. And I know you've seen a few Marvel movies. I don't know how many you've seen. Did you ever?
I've been dragged to a few, yes.
You like the first Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yes, I like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. Yeah.
Okay, so that was the one. So we were talking about Father's Day movies. I said, what an excellent Father's Day superhero movie is to watch is Volume 2. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a tremendous, you got to kind of be into the superhero aspect of it.
Yeah.
My kids love Marvel movies, and we watched all of them. They only like to see like the fighting scenes and the cool parts. They don't like the quote-unquote boring parts or the quote-unquote scary parts. They wouldn't watch Guardians of the Galaxy, either one of them. I said, they're really good movies. They don't like it because not enough of the main characters has superpowers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was their big issue with it. Like Drax is really strong, and Star-Lord flies around, but they don't have it. So
I like it
too bad.
Clearly, because it's more a little more adult because it's nuanced, it's funny, and the humor is better in those.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And the soundtrack are both great. The 70s, 80s music is great.
It's phenomenal. It's absolutely great. All right, let's get into football here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Big news of the week: Deebo Samuel suffered a Jones fracture in his foot while he was working out yesterday, which was June 18th. He's going to have surgery today, performed by Dr. Robert Anderson, and according to the experts and the pundits, he's going to be at full strength in 3 to 4 months. This is according to Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network. Now, Deebo Samuel obviously is going to say he's going to come back sooner. In fact, he thinks he's going to be on the field in 10 weeks. I think the safe money is probably him beginning the season on the PUP list. And if that is the case, as long as he stays healthy, then he should be back week 7, which is sort of, after 2/3 of the regular season is over with for the FPC and the main event. Brandon Ayuk, who wasn't really expected to do a lot early on, is probably going to take on a larger role. And Kendrick Bourne and Jalen Hurd obviously could be two guys that are going to be counted on too while Deebo Samuel misses time. And then the other thing I noticed today is Richie James, another receiver for San Francisco, broke his wrist. So they are dropping like flies in the Bay Area right now. Let's analyze this, Dave, and kick it off with Deebo Samuel. Right now, I shouldn't say right now, yesterday, he went off the board, and the 9-10 turn, Dave, as wide receiver 41. This is right behind Marvin Jones and CeeDee Lamb. It's right ahead of Mecole Hardman and Christian Kirk. Knowing that he's going to miss it, well, I shouldn't say at least 6 weeks, but knowing that he's probably going to miss 6 weeks, are you on board with that 9-10 turn right there for Deebo Samuel right now?
Well, let's see. If the surgery was today, 12 weeks is September 11th. That is before the season. That's the Friday before the season.
Yeah, it's essentially be week 1.
Okay, so that's. I do think it's a little presumptuous to put him on the PUP list. Why would you put him on the PUP list when 12 weeks, is before the season still starts? I mean, it's kind of stupid if he actually is back. I mean, he thinks 10 weeks. I get it. It's probably not. But I mean, I think that's it. It's a long ways out. I feel like. I think just automatically presuming he's on PUP. Although a lot of times, like you were saying, these push out and then it does take longer.
You got to ramp up too.
He's not a pitcher. This isn't baseball. He runs around and stuff. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
He doesn't just come out and he's not going to be exactly 100% the same. I get it, but I think when they say he's back in that time, it doesn't mean he's like starting to walk. I think it means he's back and ready to go.
Back ready to go. Okay. All right. So is he a value there at that 9-10 turn as wide receiver 41? Sounds like he is for you.
What was his ADP beforehand? Do you know?
He was going in like the mid 6th.
Sixth?
Yeah.
I think that's fine to take him there because at the worst case he's back in week 7, and so let's be as a conservative person here. Let's say 30% chance he's ready to go in week, and he's not pupped, right?
Yeah.
Ready to go in week 1, 2, 3, whatever. And so effectively he gets most of the season. And then the worst case option, a worst case option is week 7.
Setback and maybe IR.
There's a 5-10% chance that he pulls an AJ Green. But I mean, AJ Green has a contract issue. That's why. And he's much older than Samuel too. Samuel's a very young man. Very, very true.
All right. So the other thing that we should analyze here is how it's going to affect some of the other receivers for the 49ers, starting with Brandon Ayuk. Now, Ayuk was a guy that actually, before we move on to Ayuk, Dave, is there like maybe a week or so buying window for Deebo Samuel in dynasty leagues right now where you could lowball an owner that's maybe like had delusions of grandeur, wanting to win right now, and you might be able to get something, or is that not worth pursuing?
You can take a shot. I mean, why not? All they can do is say no.
Okay. All right. Ayuk, let's talk about him. Now, this is, by the way, the ADP data I'm getting right here is from FantasyMojo.com. This is the ADP of the 3 Football Guys drafts that went off yesterday. Now, granted, this is a super small sample size, but this is everything. All these drafts took place after the Deebo Samuel news was announced. Ayuk is actually still going after Deebo Samuel. He was wide receiver 50 at the 12.6. Now, based on what you said about Samuel, I don't know if you're necessarily on board with the rookie receiver going off in the mid-12th round right here.
That's where he's going right now.
Yes, that's where he went yesterday after the Samuel news.
That's still not terribly bad, but it's fine. I mean, I guess that's fine. I mean, 12th round, you're getting down there a little bit.
I think I would take a chance at the mid-12th there. All right, so and we should bring this up too. This is the other bit of news, Dave. All 3 drafts, as far as, well, I shouldn't say all 3 drafts, but George Kittle was the ADP tight end 1 yesterday. Kittle was going off on average at the 107. Kelsey going off the board on average at the 108. This is the first time we've seen this season where Kittle leapfrogged Kelsey. Now, knowing that Samuel, we're not going to see him till, again, maybe not till the start of the regular season. Is this going to hold up? Do you think Kittle's going to end up going consistently over Travis Kelsey? And more importantly, who would you rather have knowing what you know now? Is Kelsey the buy because he slipped, or is Kittle the guy you got to get?
I'd rather have Kelsey myself still. I mean, I like Kittle quite a bit. But if even, again, given the Week 7 situation, he's back and Kittle goes back to being what he was going to be before, which is 17th or 18th overall pick or something like in that neighborhood. I don't bump Kittle up all that much.
Kern Reeve in the chat room tonight, by the way, he also says he still has Kelsey over Kittle. I think that's the way I'm leaning right now, is to take him over George Kittle right now. But it's one of those things. Ask me tomorrow, I might feel a little bit differently. But I think you're right. I think Kelsey's still the guy. Wrap up this discussion here. Any other Niners receivers, and this is probably going to be brief, you like Jalen Hurd late, you like Kendrick Bourne late as potential flyers, knowing this Samuel injury?
Jalen Hurd, I liked him coming into last year, and so I think he's worth a flyer for sure. Jalen
Hurd went off the board as early as the 17:05 yesterday. He had an ADP of the 18:07. I kind of like Kendrick Bourne, actually. He didn't go off the board yesterday at all. But I think when you talk about reliability and the stuff that he can do and the fact that he's already done it on the NFL level, that he can block, Jalen Hurd missed all last season. I think his ceiling is much higher than Kendrick Bourne's. But at the same time, I think Bourne has more of an opportunity to get out there. If you're shooting for the stars, Hurd is probably the play, and I'll agree with Dave on that. Bourne might be having the higher floor. And I guess if you're drafting that late, you'd want to go with the higher ceiling anyway.
Ron Jeremy, which I love your picture in the chat room, mentions Dante Pettis.
Oh, yeah.
The ghost of Dante Pettis. Is he around?
Well, everything I've read about him was that he sort of did not endear himself to the coaching staff last year. And I think there was an attitude, but it was mostly a work ethic thing. So he's got some work to do. But certainly a pedigree guy, a second-round pick out of Washington. I know Tupacker is a fan of Dante Pettis, for what that's worth. So he's not a sheeple pick. And maybe Pettis turns something on because he's probably the highest drafted of any of these receivers too. Jalen Hurd, I think, was a third-rounder. So, yeah, I mean, I'm on board with that late. I think we all have to temper expectations a little bit because this isn't a team that trusts their running game, trusts their offensive line. They made the big deal for Trent Williams to step in for Joe Staley. They ran roughshod over the Packers in the NFC Championship game. And they still have Raheem Mostert. They still have Tevin Coleman. And who's the other cat? They got rid of Breida. There's another running back there that
McKinnon?
Jerick McKinnon, thank you, is still back there as well. So you know that they'll want to run the ball quite a bit. And if their defense is as good as we think it is, they're probably going to be salting a lot of games away in the fourth quarter. So there may not be a whole lot of fantasy goodness with those Niners receivers. Maybe Samuel is the current buy at that 9-10 spot. I want to give you props on this next thing, Dave, because this is something that you've been preaching all off season. TJ Hawkinson now has been able to run routes as part of his rehab, but has not completely recovered from that ankle injury he suffered last year. This was according to offensive coordinator Darrell Bevel, as told to MLive.com's Benjamin Raven. Now, the Lions obviously like Hawkinson. They took him super early in the draft last year, first-round pick. But that ankle injury that he had in November, it ended a pretty disappointing rookie season. You know, after he had that big week one, and everybody's like, oh, my goodness, he could be the greatest rookie tight end ever. He was not, and he was a pretty standard rookie tight end last year. You do not like Hawkinson at all for Dynasty.
I hate him, and I own him in one league.
And you weren't able to unload him?
You
didn't try?
I have a job.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
I have a life, man.
Right, I get it. Redraft leagues, any?
I don't hate him, but I feel like when you had a bad rookie year like you did, that it does not bode well for you for your career. I mean, it really doesn't. I like Noah Fant a lot more at this point.
TJ Hawkinson going off the board at tight end 15 at the 904, right behind Fant and Gronkowski, right ahead of Dallas Goedert and Jonnu Smith. Here's my issue with it. God, I can't remember who the other player was, but he was, you know, when I hear these reports of these guys still rehabbing injuries from last year, it sets off red flags for me. It sets off alarms.
It's scary.
Yeah,
you should be scared to be drafting him where he's being drafted. I think I agree. I would much rather have Goddard.
And I'd rather have Jonnu Smith as well.
Yeah.
And then you're going further down. We got a question about tight ends later on.
I'd actually be willing to put 5 on it that Dawson Knox is a better year than Hawkinson. And I don't know where Dawson Knox is going, but he's probably going like 3-4 rounds later.
He's going much later than that, I think. I'm going to look it up
That's right, Balky. I'm
1502 is tight end 27.
I'm goading you into it.
All right. Okay, here's the thing. Before we make this wager, I want to make this absolutely clear. I am with Dave. I do not like Hawkinson this year.
But that's an ADP wager right there.
I also am with Dave in that I like Dawson Knox this year. I do not like Dawson Knox enough to not make this wager.
All right.
Most FFPC points in 2020, I have TJ Hawkinson.
I'll take Dawson Knox.
How much you got on it?
I got 5 with no handicap. Bet. We're going to see our buddy Leroy tomorrow.
Yep.
So ready for we got some bets tonight for this.
Yeah, there could be some fantasy football talk flying around tomorrow as well as we get together with former Kentucky champ Kurt, the real Leroy, and two-packer. This is going to be very exciting. Not as exciting.
I'm sure a server is going to love it.
Well, if we get that cool guy from Miami, he'll at least pretend to love it. That's what I'm excited for. All right, in any event, I'm excited for our next portion of the show here. I want to bring in tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen. He is a 7-time medal winner in the Footballguys Players Championship, also a highly active owner in FFPC Dynasty Leagues as well as main event leagues. He joins the show tonight to break down a few of his 2020 Footballguys drafts. Please welcome into the show Mr. Dominic Roti. Dominic, thanks for hanging out with us tonight, man.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on.
I'm very excited to have you. Did I pull you away from any drafts tonight? I hope I didn't do that.
I'm actually on the clock as we speak in the 9th round on a slow Footballguys draft, so I will be making a pick here as we talk through. I got to decide between Goddard or Jonnu right now for my next pick. So I'll hopefully you guys can help me come to that decision.
Well, do you want to make the pick live right now? We can make the pick live right now if you're ready, Dominic. Okay. All right. So we were just talking about this.
We're make a live pick in a slow draft.
Yeah, on the air. This has never happened. This is HSFF Hour history. So when you're deciding between Dallas Goedert and Jonnu Smith, we just said we like both those guys better than TJ Hawkinson, Dave. But when it comes down to it, in a Footballguys slow draft, who are you taking? Are you taking Goddard over Jonnu Smith, or are you taking Smith over Goddard?
Myself, I am probably taking Goddard.
I would, and this is going to make for great radio, I'm going to take Smith instead of Dallas Goedert. So we are split 1-1 here, Dominic. Your thoughts on what you're basing this pick on right here?
Yeah, so I guess to me, I like Goddard. I mean, they both have the same upside. I think Goddard with Jeffrey's situation, maybe not being ready right away for the year, I feel like he is their wide receiver 2 with Ertz as their wide receiver 1 until Rhaegar gets going. But who knows with the way they're training now, with all the stuff going on in the world, how that's going to look. So I feel like Goddard's going to be red zone heavy. He's going to get more receptions this year than he did last year. Those 2 for 17, weeks. I think they're going to be more like 5 for 50s. And if he gets a touchdown in there, Jonnu's got the whole thing to himself. They don't pass as much, but he is definitely their big red zone target with A.J. Brown. So I think Jonnu might come back to me. So maybe I'm going to take Goddard. I'll go with Dave here, take Goddard now, just because I'll get greedy and see if Jonnu comes back. But I do like both of them in the same range. I don't think it can go wrong either way.
Good choice.
Yeah.
You made the right choice. Good job, buddy.
And the other thing to keep in mind, and this is something when Delaney Walker went down, was it last year? I think it was 2 years ago. He went down, and he was being heavily used in that Titans offense. And granted, this was with Mariota, not Tannehill. But I remember I picked up Jonnu Smith in a bunch of leagues because I had some elite tight end was on bye that week, and I'm like, oh, I got Smith. This is going to be great. And he put up a bagel.
0.
It was bad. It was really, really bad. And
he gets those. I know at least Goddard is going to get a red zone look or two in every Philly game, so you got that going for him. I'm not saying Jonnu will, but I mean, I don't know. I just love Goddard all around the board. So,
well, here we are 5 minutes into this interview, Dominic. We helped you make a pick in a Football Guys slow draft.
We haven't even asked you the question we ask everybody.
Right. Well, we just wanted to know what kind of work you're doing for a living right now.
George Costanza, right? Like George Costanza, leaving on a high note. We made a pick, and I'm.
That's it for me, everybody.
Have a good one. Thanks for coming on the show. Seven-time league winner.
That's right.
And don't you forget it. So, Dominic, when you, I know you obviously have the time to do the Football Guys slow drafts. You have time to do the Football Guys live drafts. Obviously, whatever type of work you're in, it allows you for a lot of recreational time to draft, right?
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough. My wife also doesn't kill me for, doing drafts while we're trying to put my son and daughter to sleep. But I'm able to get in. I'm a financial advisor, so I've been, pretty much from March 13th working at home and doing Zoom meetings. So it's actually, been pretty much make your own schedule, which is nice. And, it's get to be able to sneak these drafts in. Can't go anywhere, can't do anything in Chicago. So we just, just keep drafting, right? Try some new things out on the 350s because it's all about that 500K.
That's right.
So you said, I'm sorry, you cut it off for a second. Financial advisor, is that what you said?
Yeah. So a financial advisor, I do financial planning, investment strategies, estate planning, the whole nine for clients in the Chicagoland area.
So I've kind of asked this kind of before. We've had a couple different financial advisors on. You're kind of like an amateur, maybe not amateur, but you're kind of like a psychologist really most of the time, where it's like, for God's sakes, don't take your money out of the market now because it's the worst time to do it. Is that half the calls you have?
You get the reality when you go through what March we just went through in the market when everything was pretty much world was ending. You had some interesting calls, but most of my clients have been pretty good. It's I'm fortunate enough to have a good base and you do the psychology part, but for the it was better than expected given the circumstances we were in for about a month, especially. So
yeah, it was so fast down that it was fast coming back up that if you just didn't watch the nightly news, you were probably okay. So I think that's probably part of it. Okay, I have a fantasy question finally here. So sure. So you got Leonard Fournette at the 304 in a recent Football Guys draft. Do you think FFPC owners? I mean, he had a good year last year, even though I don't know. I didn't own him very much, but I mean, it seemed like it was fine to me, and he scored plenty of points. Are FFPC owners sleeping on him this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think to a degree because you group him in with Gurley, Gordon, Connor, I think in that third round range, and maybe Jonathan Taylor to some degree, but we don't know what that looks like yet. But those four, plus David Johnson, maybe after, they're going to at least start off as a workload, right? I don't think, out of all of them, Gurley and Fournette tend to have the least amount of competition. I think Chris Thompson's a joke. Like, don't get me wrong. He's never been injured. He's always been injured every year. So it's like, why am I going to believe he's going to be healthy for 16 games? So I know that's a concern, right, for people taking away pass catches and things of that nature. But Fournette had 2 touchdowns last year. So you got to figure with the offense and Minshew better, with DJ Shark emerging, you feel like more red zone opportunities. Fournette should, I would hope, get into the end zone more, along with even 80% of the catch rate production, even if it's a little less. Hopefully more yards, hopefully more big runs. I do like him. I think they're the same risk in that group area. There's a lot of question marks, but a lot of upside. So when you need a running back, especially if you don't start off running back, I think he's an okay one to kind of start off before you start taking tickets later.
Yeah, he had a massive season last year, too, and obviously he's in for some positive touchdown regression, so you'd like to think that as good as he was last year, he could be even maybe a little bit better this year. We'll see. I want to talk to you about the receivers here because this is a draft a fantasy season, Dominic. So many fantasy drafters are talking up a deep wide receiver position, heading, trying to get running backs early. I just want to get your take on one of the Football Guys drafts. You recently started off with Michael Thomas, and then you took DeAndre Hopkins in the second round, wide receiver. Can you kind of take us through that process of why you started that draft off like that?
Yeah, so, I've done the heavy green, which we'll talk about, and everyone, it seems to be the easy path to go this year, at least the kind of safest path, right? Going green, running back in the beginning. But we saw last year what happened with the team that won the $500,000 or the $250,000, whatever the first prize was last year. It was Thomas and Julio, right? So when you do enough of these, you want to mix and match how he started and roster construct. So getting Thomas where I got him and then being able to get Hopkins there, even though he's going to a new team, I had to take the shot and essentially build around that core, knowing that those are going to be my locked-in wide receiver 1 and 2s every week, and I don't have to play roulette with the wide receiver 2 position. And then that's where I took Fournette and Swift and trying to build your running backs that way, because if they hit, then you're in a really good spot and a real advantage, especially headed into hopefully the playoffs, weeks 14 through 16.
It's all about high upside. I like that too. One of the things that we have talked about on this show has been backfields. I think we've talked about the Lions backfield to death. We talked about the Bills backfield. Dave, one of the backfields that we really haven't talked about, and I think we should ask Dominic about, is this interesting one that's going on in Los Angeles with the Chargers right now.
Yeah, I actually am really curious to hear your take, and we haven't talked so much about this, which is weird because we usually talk about the same 6 topics, 17 straight.
Several times on the same show.
Yeah, Austin Eckler,
sure.
Justin Jackson, and Josh Kelly, the rookie. How do you see the Chargers dividing up the backfield carries between those three? I'm really interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so I think for me, Justin Jackson's out, right? I just think from his performance, he had a chance last year to kind of seize what Melvin Gordon's, at least touches would have been in the first, half of the season and really dropped the ball with it, right? Eckler kind of took the reins there. So we know Eckler's good. We know he's going to continue to get the first looks, but I really like Kelly. I think Kelly was really good at UCLA. I think they know Eckler he's more productive in lesser, he gets more big bangs and lesser snaps, right? So they don't want to be rolling them out there, Christian McCaffrey type style. And maybe they end up doing it, but I think Kelly's going to carve himself out a role that's only going to increase throughout the year. And, in the round 11, 12, 13 range, I'm targeting him and trying to get him in every draft. I think him and Antonio Gibson are my two I want, if I can leave the draft with them, especially if I go receivers early. They're my 0 RB targets for sure.
Yeah, Gibson's probably another guy we'll get into later on in the show. Dominic Roti, a 7-time Football Guys Players Championship medal winner, joining the HSFF Hour tonight. Keeping it on the running back tip here, Dominic. Another backfield that I'm intrigued in with one of these guys, not necessarily the other one. What's your take on Matt Breida and Jordan Howard? Is stacking both those Dolphins running backs a good idea in FPC drafts, or are you just more likely willing to take a shot on one and not the other?
Yeah, so I stacked in one of mine when I went more wide receiver heavy with Dalvin Cook, which, that's a whole nother thing now. But I've been taking Howard pretty much in the same realm as I've been doing Kelly and Gibson. I prefer him over Breida. I know Howard has done it before on the Bears. Granted, it was a rookie season, but even on Philly last year before he was out, he was productive. Breida has big hits. I understand. I see well-respected players that do a lot of drafts, take him, earlier and they target him. I just prefer Howard in the 10th and 11th, and that's kind of where he's living. And I just think he's going to be this first and second down back, and he's going to get, if they, especially with Tua, he's going to get, I think 200 plus carries if he stays healthy. And I'd rather have that if I'm going 0 RB or I just need a flex running back to make sure I'm covered. I'd rather have Jordan Howard than Breida.
Yeah, one of the other things to keep in mind, too, as much as we like Matt Breida and what he did in San Francisco, bear in mind, too, that he was dinged up quite a bit and was, always a friend of the training room. And that's something that I think we'll have to keep in mind. You may not like Jordan Howard, but when you get a volume guy like that late, Dave, it would certainly make some sense. Speaking of volume guys in the Washington passing offense.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of who else is there. Okay, so we have...
Not Doxson. He's gone.
We have Jeremy Sprinkle at tight end.
Well, Antonio Gibson, who we just talked about, who sort of be like a running back, wide receiver, hybrid type.
He's not a receiver.
Well, I'm just saying, like, position-wise.
His position is a running back. Look, as the commissioner of these drafts, don't even bring up the wide receiver thing, you idiot.
I'll bite my tongue on that one, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Hang on. Let me calm down.
Yeah, we want to leave him as a running back. Let's not
get
here.
I don't want any emails. If I get an email tonight. So
I'll answer it. If you
Terry McLaurin, what are the odds that Terry McLaurin becomes a top 15 wideout this season?
I mean, it'll be he can do it for sure. I think it'll be close. I just drafted him as my one where I went running back heavy. He's very consistent. Contested catch rate, he's top there. He's got Haskins, which is a downturn, right? You get worried about that, but like you guys were talking about when you're figuring out who's there, right? You got Sims, you got Harmon, and then it's really not much else outside the running backs. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I think his target share is going to be 25% plus. He's going to get fed from Haskins. He's going to continue to pepper him. He did well the second half of the season with Haskins, so it's not like he got a drop off. I would hope Haskins gets a little bit better. He gets a little bit better. Terry's good enough to win contested balls, especially jump balls. If Haskins misthrows, I think he can easily be not only top 15. I think he could be top 10. He really could. I think he's got the talent. He's Michael Thomas Jr. And I do think I think he's going to be a stud in this league. Whether it happens all the way this year or not, will remain to be seen. But these receivers are breaking out faster than ever before. So
hey, Dominic, did you snatch up McLaurin in any for cheap last year in any dynasty leagues as a rookie, before he kind of broke out?
We did, yeah. So me and my partner Brandon, yeah, he was on him early before I even really knew about him. He was snapping him up in every league that he could. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we got some shares for sure.
That feels pretty good, right? When you So where'd you guys? Where were you taking him in FFPC rookies? Like fourth round, like in that range, third, fourth?
Yeah, third, fourth. He was in that range, and I think we got him on a waiver on one league too. I don't even think I think he was dropped, and we picked him up. Yeah, so it was. We just targeted him, we picked him up, and worked out so far.
That's great.
And if you want to pick up players like Terry McLaurin on waivers in dynasty leagues, check out the dynasty leagues at myffpc.com. Startups going off right now. Make sure you check it out, and you can do just like Dominic has here and get a guy like McLaurin on waivers. Dave?
Well, one of the last questions I'm going to ask you for your, rookie drafts are done for most people, but not everybody. Maybe we'll try.
I have 3 rookie drafts left. No, 4. I have 4. No, I have 3.
Because you're in Kentucky, which is ridiculous. I have 1 rookie draft left.
Why hasn't it started yet?
Because the commissioner imposed, I don't know. He's like, we're changing the rookie draft till August because more information is available.
Oh, for God's sake. All right.
So whatever.
All right. So to kind of answer the rhetorical question before, who else is in Washington besides the guys you already mentioned? The only other one I'll say is Antonio Gandy Golden, who obviously has a shot at being like a number 1 type receiver, maybe a number 2 in Washington, but it's not going to happen this year. And Dominic, I totally agree with you on the target share. I think with McLaurin, it's going to be 25 plus, maybe 30%. That's going to make him a volume guy. And Washington's not a great team, so they should be peppering him early and often. Okay, let's shift. We're talking about receivers here, Dominic. Let's talk about running backs. In your draft so far, the Football Guys draft so far this season, have you loaded up to start off your drafts with 3 running backs, 4 running backs often? Has it been once in a while? How have you sort of utilized that strategy in your drafts?
Yeah, so the one I just that I'm in now, I started off 4 running backs. I started off Kamara, Jones, Gurley, David Johnson, and just to do it that way. I've done I think 3 of them total with this one has been running back heavy out of the 8 that I've done so far. So, a good percentage, right, on pass, on track to do. I think it's just so easy to start off running back, especially if you're at the top of the draft. If you get one of Zeke, McCaffrey, Barkley, or even, you get Henry, Sanders, Mixon, like any of those guys, Kamara, like you can build it in the second round and the third round and then just hammer the receivers, 4 through 7. I just think a lot of people are doing it. I think that's going to be a popular play is the heavy running backs because it's easier to build and, you need to have some exposure to it. So that's why I'm definitely going to keep doing it.
So, Dominic, let me ask you this. If you think there's going to be a good amount of people doing it, is the value still in trying to do that as well, to get these running backs early, or would you rather zag when everybody else is zigging and do maybe a couple of zero RBs? How do you fall in on that?
Yeah, so I've done it, right? I mean, it just depends on the volume you're doing, right? If you're doing one of these contests or 2 of these contests, it's a little – not saying you can't do it, right? That's a total zag, but it's all about percentages of your team, right? So, I mean, for me, I don't feel comfortable zagging if I'm doing 10 of them. Draft, I don't want to zag on all 10, right? You need to have some exposure to that kind of construction because if you're wrong and it is the right way, then you're screwed, right? So you want to make sure that, it depends on the amount of teams, depends how comfortable you are. Zagging is fun. It is, because it looks nice having those stud receivers, especially I did 4 in a row on one of mine, and it gets really, I'll tell you, it doesn't feel as great when you're in around 7 through 11 trying to piece together running backs. So, enter at your own risk, but it could definitely pay off if you do hit on those late ones. I just think you need to have a mixture of both combos.
Dominic, let me fire a question from the chat. Wasp Guy wants to know who your favorite last round pick in redraft is. And I guess if it's a kicker, you can just tell us your 19th round. And if that's a defense, you can just tell us your favorite 18th round pick. But basically, your last skill position pick in redraft. Who's been your favorite thus far?
So I've been taking them in every one. I think one I haven't, but Bryan Edwards for the Vegas Raiders. Yeah, so coming off an injury, he should be good to go. I don't know. I just think he's the most talented one out of whatever they have there, even with Ruggs. I think he's going to step in, big body, slot guy. He was really good in college until that injury happened. So. We'll see. Again, it's worst case scenario. He doesn't get back on the field, and I drop him and I use him as a waiver. But I definitely will hold him for at least 4 to 5 weeks to see how that shakes out because I do think he's got a lot of upside potential on that offense with not a lot of competition.
Very nice.
I'm loving him in Dynasty too. I'll tell you
the
that.
Chat room likes that choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, real quick, we already talked about Deebo Samuel once. Why not bring him up again?
Well, we got to get Dominic's. We got to get the thoughts of the people here.
He's going to miss the next 3 to 4 months, evidently. It's 12 weeks until the season starts. How far are you moving Deebo down on your draft board?
Undraftable. Not drafting him. He's out. Simple as that.
Wow.
Can't touch him.
Wow, That's crazy. That's
no,
good.
thank you.
Okay, is it just because you don't want to draft a player that's going to be essentially coming into the season either without a preseason or hurt? Is that what it is, or why is he undraftable for you?
So if you recall, I think sometimes we forget history of players with these foot injuries. They are brutal, and they re-injure him, especially if he gets rushed back, like they're talking he wants to get back. If he's back by, let's say, best case scenario, he's back first week in October, right? He gets on the field. He has a good game, maybe. He has to work himself into conditioning. He hurts his foot again. Now he's out for the year, right? That's scenario 1. Scenario 2 is he never comes back, right? Because either they sign a receiver like Antonio Brown, which we've heard the rumors of whispers. We'll see whatever that comes up. Or my sleeper of that is Des Bryant, that I feel like he's got a chance to get signed by the Niners. But I just don't – I don't see it. I don't see it. He gets a lot of his points on running. He's a stud. I think he's going to be a great dynasty buy low, especially if you can get him. But I do not see him – in a meaningful way stepping back on the field this year and not re-injuring himself or making it through the full year if he does.
Okay, so the follow-up to that, Dominic, is obviously if you don't like Deebo Samuel, that's fine, but who are you bumping up for the Niners pass catchers then? Is it simply just Kittle's going to be a monster, or is there some value in one of the other receivers there?
Yeah, so I think Kittle, I think you guys probably saw last night, he went 1-7 in a draft I saw on Mojo. So, people are moving him up. The rookie, Brandon Ayuki, I think is how you pronounce it. He's going to be shooting up. He's going to be in double-digit rounds. He'll probably be in round 9 before this, once we hear, whispers of how his training videos are going on Twitter. I'm sure he'll shoot up in the single digits. But Kendrick Bourne is interesting, right? I mean, Kendrick Bourne, he gets targeted in the red zone. He's not a heavy target guy. He does his job. He does it well, but they use him in scoring situations. So maybe they get him a little more involved in the passing game throughout the drives instead of just the red zone, and he actually gets a 5 for 50 with a touchdown. I just don't think this team's going to be pass heavy. I think it's Kittle and everyone else kind of has their moments, and then they just rely on, the stud running game and kind of go from there.
Dominic, let's get to some emails here that came in from listeners. This is a good one for you to kick things off about the Bears. This is from Bill in Centennial, Colorado. Bill with one L, by the way. Interesting. Hi, Dominic. How much, if at all, does Chicago's quarterback choice change Allen Robinson's value? Good luck this season. Thank you for the email, Bill in Centennial, Colorado. So I don't know if this makes a difference to you at all. But with Allen Robinson, does it change if Nick Foles is throwing to him or if Trubisky's throwing to him? How do you fall in on this?
They really like to rub it in because I'm from Chicago and I have to deal with the Mitch Trubisky debacle, for Watson and Mahomes, and I gotta feed in this question. Yeah, I mean, look, they brought Foles in. I'm holding on to one last hope that they're using it to motivate Trubisky. I mean, the coaches love Foles. I don't see how Foles doesn't start. I think either one is still Allen Robinson's a third rounder. I think he's a stud. I think that's one of the guys. Again, it took a year to recover from an injury, but once he did, he's a stud, right? So I don't think either way really matters. I would still take Allen Robinson no matter who the quarterback is, because we might see both of them this year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anything goes in Chicago with the Bears and their personnel. So we'll see. But yeah, take Robinson. Don't sweat it. He's going to be a stud one way or the other.
Dave, a couple of good team names in that answer there. The Mitch Trubisky debacle and anything goes in Chicago. I think those are both solid team names.
Oh, wonderful.
Sure. Allen Robinson, by the way, as Dominic pointed out so astutely, he is going as the 307 on average. Right now, wide receiver 10, right behind Kenny Golladay and Odell Beckham, right ahead of DJ Moore and Amari Cooper. One of the positions we don't talk about on this show is quarterbacks, but Anthony in San Francisco is changing that right now. He writes, hey, Dominic, with so many teams waiting on quarterbacks to super deep levels again this year, does it make sense to try and gain an advantage by drafting Jackson or Mahomes early? Thank you, Anthony in San Francisco. Dominic, quite frankly, I don't know if you've drafted either of those guys early. Do you believe that there's an advantage there, or are you still waiting?
So, funny thing, me, Jerry Koforski, and Frank Sladd, both players. We all played it, together, Team Lombard. You guys seen us before at the main events. We just had this discussion in one of Frank's drafts where it was Lamar Jackson at 3.9, and it's like, how do you not take him there, if you want to take a quarterback early? I'm so vehemently against taking a quarterback early, but even I was second guessing myself and saying, well, it's 3.9. I mean, Jackson is a stud. I can't see the advantage. I just don't like it. I feel dirty taking it. I can see where it works. I've seen teams, even Frank's team, it worked out that way. I'm just taking Daniel Jones, round 13 every time. I want no one else. Just give me him, and I'll sleep like a baby, and that's it.
All right, it's in the main event draft. Pick 411. Lamar Jackson's on the available.
Oh. 411 on. You got me there, Dave. I think 411. I think I'm taking it. 411. I'm already guessing in that area. I mean, that's value enough. I don't think he'll make it to 411. 4.2 would be 4.2 or 4.3 is interesting too. It's do you take one of those receivers or do you just take him?
So that's a Cam Akers range is the 411 spot.
Think about that draft. You could have Barkley, Godwin, and then let's say Mark Andrews, and then come back with Lamar Jackson at the 411.
The rainbow draft. That would be quite the rainbow.
That would be a
rainbow. The rainbow.
going early quarterback and early tight end, but nobody would fault you for it because you're getting a hookup and you're getting Lamar Jackson.
That would be one hell of a unique roster.
I will say this last point to that. At least unless there's an injury, Mahomes or Lamar Jackson are not busting for you. You can still bust with someone else in the third round, right? You're not busting with those two quarterbacks. So at least you know that going as a safety net to do it, So.
All right. This is one of our funnerest questions.
Oh, good word.
Thank you. Who is a player you've been avoiding in draft so far this year, and a player you've been targeting in the mid to later rounds? And unfortunately for you, since you play redraft and dynasty, I would like an answer for both.
And I would also
if you don't have one offhand, I mean that's fine. But you might have it. And think on your feet here.
You cannot use the words Brian or Edwards in this response.
Okay, that's fair. Avoiding Mike Williams, I want no part of him. I get the upside. I hate him. He cost me $4,000 in a main event last year. I don't want any part of him. No. So I don't think with Tyrod Taylor, I can't do it. I don't think with Tyrod Taylor, it's going to be check down city there. He'll have one or two good games. I don't know. He just doesn't excite me at all. And I know people like taking him, early 10, sometimes even earlier. But no thanks. Who I'm targeting, Antonio Gibson, obviously, that's one of them. Before the issues, Len Bowden was another guy I was targeting around 15, 16. I think he was a great, he could still be great handcuff for Jacobs. But one of the guys I think there's no surprise is Justin Jefferson. I think he's sliding right into. I think he's going to be the rookie receiver. Him and Rhaegar have the chance. I think Justin Jefferson is really good, and I think he's going to put up some fantasy numbers this year for people, and I think he's going to have some really good games in that offense, and he's going to have a role carved off right away. I just think he's going to do well up there in the dome. So.
No Stephon Diggs, potentially no Dalvin Cook. We'll see. And we just found out that Jefferson is going to play primarily on the inside, which is what he did at LSU, and got all that fantasy goodness from Joe Burrow, too. So something to be paying attention to there. We're always paying attention to whatever Dominic Roti says, given his success as a 7-time medal winner in the Footballguys Players Championship. Dominic, can't thank you enough for hopping aboard this week. Good luck in all your drafts the rest of the way, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. And hopefully we'll see you out in Vegas, too.
Hey, well, anything can happen. We'll see. I'll be doing main events this year, and I'll be looking for Lamar Jackson now at 4'11". You promised me, Dave, so I'm going to wait to see it. Thank you guys for having me on.
He makes it there in one league. He'll make it there in one league, buddy.
Make sure he gets there for me when I'm live, okay? I'm going to be tapping you on the shoulder because it's a verbal contract now. So, all right. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Thanks.
Thanks, right, Dominic. Thanks. Take care. By the way, follow Dominic on Twitter at FFPCDR313. 7-time champ in the Footballguys Players Championship. I don't mean this as a bad or as a slight to any of our guests from the Chicagoland area. Don't they have a specific way of talking?
I love it, actually.
Yeah, that's why I say I don't mean it in a bad way because it's so engaging.
Yeah. Just unlike people from Wisconsin who just sound stupid.
Well, there's something to be said for that. Did you see that comment from the prognosticator tonight about how I need to get a vocal coach?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, in our private Slack chat. I mean, I gave Alex some props earlier, but I mean, it's not like this guy's without an accent himself.
Well, Dave. No, I'm not going to do it.
I mean, he did spend his first 10 years in Russia, for God's sakes. I mean,
oh, really? He lived in Russia that long?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you know what? Unlike some people, he actually values the freedom that America grants you.
God.
That's a serious statement right there.
No, but in any event, like I don't. There's something so engaging about I just want to keep talking to guys at the Chicago Act. We bring up Joe Del Zanero a lot. Don Metter is a guy that I love talking to as well.
Keep in mind, Joe Del Zanero and Dominic Roti have have one thing in common.
Yeah,
a vowel for their last name. Maybe you're just like Italian.
Yeah,
I love Italian people. I mean, Italian people are fun.
Right.
It's like it's like you go to an Italian restaurant. What do you have? You have red wine. You have fat, carby food.
Yeah,
it's like a robust life. I feel like Italians live a robust life.
Well, don't they sleep in?
Is that positive racism? I'm not sure.
No.
I don't think Italians get racist issues anymore.
But it's like seriously speaking, don't they sleep in, work a few hours, and then they take the afternoon off, and then they'll work
siesta.
No. And then they'll work
I think that's all of Europe.
Oh, all of Europe does this? They
Yeah.
work till like 7 or 8 at night, and then they just party all night?
Yeah,
and then
pretty
that's
much.
why they always sleep in?
Correct, yeah.
I know that the Liechtensteinians are famous for this, Dave.
Which is I think is mostly Southern Europe, because the Germans work really hard on a timely manner. English people do the same. But like, Italy and Spain and Greece, Malta,
Yeah.
they're all supposedly really lazy down there because it's so hot.
Greece, I've heard. This is the second conversation about Malta I've had today.
Really?
Yeah, I was talking with our good buddy, our mutual friend Troublemaker El Grande,
Yeah.
and we were talking because he's a big poker player, and he was telling me where the poker rooms are open and where they're not. Like
Malta?
Venetian has their poker room open. Bellagio has their poker room open. He says they're playing 5-handed at the Venetian. He's like, I got to get out there. The action has got to be incredible.
I bet, yeah.
5-handed poker. But yeah, then we because he's got an app that tells you where all the poker rooms and all the casinos where they're open. And he's like, they're crushing it in Malta right now. I don't even know where that is. And I had to think about it. I'm like, yeah, I think it's in the Mediterranean. But
is it an island?
Yeah, it's an island country that is north of Libya, east of Tunisia, and south of Italy. Is what we found out.
Out of those 4 countries you mentioned, I would only go to 2 of them: Italy and Malta.
Italy and Malta.
I'm not going to Tunisia, and I'm not.
I like the dude. If I ever go to
There's been
Libya,
too many fraud checks in Tunisia.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's get into. I don't want to get to emails quite yet because there's a couple of things I want to hit on before we get to that were in the news this week. The Charlotte Observer, Dave, I know you're a subscriber. They had a story this week from
Reggie Bonifant?
No, not about. Who is the handcuff for you in Carolina? Serious question. Is it Bonifant? Is it Mike Davis?
I don't even know who else there. Oh, Mike Davis.
Mike Davis is there, yeah. I mean, okay.
Bonifant had an 80-yard touchdown last year.
So I guess the answer is you're not. If you get McCaffrey, you're just shining on the whole backup.
Well, what I would do is I would look. It's obviously around 26 in a best ball. I go to footballguys.com and I click on their depth charts, and I see McCaffrey first, and then I see Bonifant listed second. I'm like, oh, this guy's still available, and he's supposed to be the handcuff, so I'll take him.
All right, so that's who it would be in the 20th. You take Bonifant if you get McCaffrey at the 101.
Oh yeah.
Okay. What?
Am I in a private dynasty league?
Yes, you are.
Which one?
Gridiron Legends.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
okay,
that's what Kern Reeve was asking what happened to Lance, and I said he's in a dynasty league with you and I.
He comes to Vegas every year.
Yeah, he'll be out there for sure.
Probably.
If he can get out of the dispensary in time. Okay, so let's talk about this report from the Charlotte Observer here, Dave. Joe Brady, who's the new offensive coordinator under Matt Rule, says Curtis Samuel is going to be, quote, critical to success for the Panthers offense. Quote, Curtis is a playmaker. He fits the mold of what we're looking for in this type of offense, a guy that you can utilize all around the field and get the ball in hands, and good things happen. All right, so last year, Samuel had 9 carries and 11 catches after Scott Turner, who's Norv Turner's son, took over the play calling duties there. And it sounds like Joe Brady wants to utilize him and, get him involved. Whether
is Scott Turner still the offensive coordinator?
No, Joe Brady is now.
Oh,
okay.
Right. Dang it, that sucks.
Well, I mean, Joe Brady's talking him up, though, too.
No, I'm actually thinking about McCaffrey because Norv Turner always utilized one running back into the turf.
Dude, so. McCaffrey's good. I mean, he's the slam dunk 101. I don't think there's much analysis.
Okay, anyway, back to...
All right, there's still Robbie Anderson. There's still DJ Moore, the aforementioned Christian McCaffrey, Ian Thomas there. Curtis Samuel right now in Football Guys leagues, Dave, has an ADP of 1411 as wide receiver 62. Now, I know that doesn't seem like much there. Would you be looking at him at all this year? I think between the two of us, you have always been the guy who has defended Curtis Samuel and liked him more. I've never particularly cared for him, but can you sell me on Curtis Samuel this year?
It's a little tough to sell you on him. He had a high phenom score coming into the NFL, so he was a good prospect. The problem for me is target share, market share, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
McCaffrey's going to get so much. DJ Moore. I mean, McCaffrey and DJ Moore are both like superstar. I mean, really, truly.
McCaffrey and Moore, yeah.
Yeah, superstar caliber players. I mean, they should really command a ton of targets. Ian Thomas is seemingly pretty solid, and Robbie Anderson was a legitimate player. I mean, granted, he would probably ran a bunch of 9 routes for the Jets, and I'm not sure if he's going to do anything else here.
That might be it.
He might just throw all the 9 routes. He might get 35 catches for whatever. Samuel's a talent. I would look. Where is it? The 14th.
14th.
I've seen him in best ball drafts going way, way, way later. I mean, we're talking like the 20th, 20th. Because then you have to factor in kickers and defenses. Maybe not the 20th, but like the 18th, 19th. So I think Samuel in best ball is better than in a redraft. I think that's where I'd be looking at him.
Just for Football Guys Players Championship purposes, he is going right behind Alshon Jeffrey and his real-life teammate Robbie Anderson, and he is going right in front of N'Keal Harry, T. Higgins, and Golden Tate.
One thing I would do is if I did draft DJ Moore, I think Samuel is actually a legitimately decent caliber handcuff, wide receiver handcuff, which you don't see often.
No.
Because he's super cheap. And DJ Moore, you spend a lot of money on him. But if DJ Moore goes down, Samuel will step into that role, and he will be pretty damn awesome.
See, okay, so that's my question. With Anderson and Samuel going so close together, if you were going to do that handcuffing DJ Moore type thing, you would actually go towards the pedigreed Curtis Samuel over the overpaid Robbie Anderson?
I think Samuel has more of a talent stack that just translates better to what DJ Moore is doing and running different routes. So I feel like he would command more targets and be better.
All right, so let's get to emails here. We'll fly through them as much as we can. Watch Guy also had a chat room question, Dave. He wants to know if zero RB is still viable this year, and we're a fan of it. And I'll answer that first. I still like it, and I think people are quick to throw it to the curb. After last year, we saw not a whole lot of running back injuries and or busts in the first round. And I think people are like, well, why are we doing zero RB when look at all the success that people had last year? Last year was kind of an outlier as far as running back injuries. And I will not be going zero RB in every single one of my drafts this year. I think, quite frankly, I've only done it once, maybe twice so far this season. And those were Kentucky drafts where it's more of a wide receiver. You got to make sure you get those guys locked up. I love, as you know, to my own detriment, I love the modified zero RB where you take the running back in the first round and then pound out 4 receivers and a tight end and then start attacking the running back position again. But I don't think we should throw it to the curb yet just because of a quasi-normal 2019 season at the position.
Well, I think the year before, too, it was kind of similar. It's been like a 2-year kind of semi-drought for zero RB. It is a little bit of recency bias. I definitely think it's a strategy that does work. The part of the problem, though, in FFPC format, because you can start 4 running backs, and because people are pounding running backs, it gets dry super fast at running back.
Yeah.
So if you actually do it, you can run into a lot of problems. And maybe like 4 or 5 teams take 3 or 4 running backs, and you're in some dire. Even you're looking at, where are my crappy guys? Well, it's like, all right, what do you want, Darrell Henderson? And,
right.
You know what I mean? Like
Chase Edmonds is getting a lot of steam lately, as far as a zero RB guy.
It's like, you'd like to have some people that are viable to start week 1, right?
You have to.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's a little bit. It's a little bit challenging, but I mean. Your receivers are going to be fantastic, and if you hit on those running backs, I mean, there are waiver wire candidates. I mean, in some leagues, maybe Joshua Kelly gets dropped week 1, and then he's available for you. So I mean, things happen, and it does. You don't get a lot of impact wide receivers off the waiver wire. You get some, but not guys that are like really studs.
Yeah, that's true. Let's get to a couple of emails here before we wrap things up tonight. First one, Dustin in Warren, Michigan. Is the Washington backfield worth trying to examine this season, or should I just stay away? Thanks for all you do. That is Dustin in Warren, Michigan. This is interesting, too, because I think it was the Football Guys email today. It was a Football Guys email a couple of days ago, said that there was a Washington beat reporter, and said that a team source told them that Peterson and Geis are expected to split the first and second down carries, and J.D. McKissick is going to be the third down guy there. Dave, there's nothing to like about that sentence.
No, I agree.
I don't like any of those.
You like the Peterson stuff. You drafted Peterson in the 25th round.
I guess, but I mean, I don't think he's been going there, quite frankly. I'm just going to look it up here real quick where he's going in Football Guys drafts. He's an 18th round pick, so that I guess that's fine. But Geis in the 7th round, no, thank you.
I don't understand Geis. I don't get that pick. I don't get it.
Yeah, Darius Geis.
To me, Geis should be going in like the 9th or 10th.
Darius Geis or Ronald Jones.
Rojo.
Darius Geis or Alexander Madison, who's been rising up boards?
Neither.
I think I would take Geis if I had to.
I'll take Tyler Boyd.
Darius Geis or Tevin Coleman?
Geis.
Darius Geis or Marlon Mack?
Mack.
I'm going to take Mack, yeah, exactly.
I hate it.
All right, Kurt in, where the hell is this Texas town? Friona. Kurt in Friona, Texas. Who is your pick at 3 this year, guys? Kamara or Elliott, or should I just skip and go with Michael Thomas? Kurt, I apologize for not recognizing your town. Thank you for the email. Who do you like better, Kamara or Elliott? I have a thought on this.
I'll take Zeke.
I would take Kamara.
Great.
And if you want to put 5 on it, I would.
Do I get to hear your argument first?
My argument is this. I think Kamara was playing hurt quite a bit last year, and from the eye test, and this is what I read from a lot of beat reporters saying that this guy was playing at like 70-75%, gutting it out. And because he is as talented as he was, they put him on the field because it's Alvin Kamara at 75% is still awesome. Ezekiel Elliott, we heard from several guests on this show that they saw the wearing down aspect last year already. And now you get Mike McCarthy in there who loves these 3 wide receiver sets. And what do they do in the first round? They draft CeeDee Lamb. So now you have Prescott, who threw for like 5,000 yards last year, still with Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, who caught 1,100-plus yards last year, and CeeDee Lamb, who I think was the best wide receiver in this entire rookie class. I think that Kamara, to me, is going to get more touches and, by and large, score more and get more fantasy points. So I will take, and I have done this. I've taken Kamara over Elliott I probably own Kamara in like 4 leagues already this year. I like it. I like him a lot.
Good argument. All right, I'll bet.
All right, so most fantasy points in FFPC this season, I got 5 on Alvin Kamara.
I'll take EE.
I got 5 on it.
So just real quick, would you take Michael Thomas over either of them?
I would not know.
I wouldn't either, and it's not because I know that there's going to be a regression for Thomas this year, but I still think he has a fantastic season. I just think that with those elite of running backs, you got to get one of those guys and let Thomas go to somebody else and get your receiver value later. That's where I would look at. Ron Jeremy already saying Kamara went 3 in the 8:30 football guys tonight. So there you go on that one. Moving on. 2 more emails, maybe 1 more. Dear Jason in Dallas, I'm going with elite tight ends early in a lot of my drafts. Who would you rather go with as a backup then between Blake Jarwin and Jack Doyle? Love your show. That is Tom in Youngstown, Ohio. Tom, thank you for your draft patronage, assuming you're drafting on the FFPC platform, and thank you for your email. Dave, you like, as we were just talking about the Cowboys passing game, you like Jarwin better, or do you like Jack Doyle in Indianapolis better this year as far as a backup tight end for an elite guy that you're drafting early?
I would probably go with Doyle.
And why are you going Doyle? Just because of track record?
I just listened to you tell me about all of the amazing, great players.
I didn't realize I was telling you on this one, too.
Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, blah, 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 Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott. Where's Jarwin? Like the 5th or 6th or, his name is Blake, for Christ's sake. Hey, this guy's terrible.
You don't like guys named Blake?
No.
Okay.
I also don't really like Jack Doyle. I've said this before. I think his name is stupid, but so Jack.
No Ebron this year in Indianapolis.
No Ebron. You have T.Y. Hilton, and then you have a rookie, and you have an underperforming Paris Campbell, and what else? Is there anything? Who am I missing? Jonathan Taylor.
Austin Collie, is he still bumming around there?
Hey, he's probably hanging out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But
Naheem Hines.
You have Hines as the 3rd down back, Marlon Mack and Jonathan Taylor as the 1 and 2 backs. Who's going to figure that out? Taylor eventually will probably become the 3 down back there, maybe not this year. I don't know.
I think I'm with you on Doyle. I agree. I think you sold me on it. After I sold you on the Dallas wide receivers, you sold me on Doyle.
Yeah.
And they were related. Who thunk it? All right, one last email. What's up, guys? In Football Guys drafts, which rookie wideout do you like better between Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs? Thank you to Shane in Weehawken, New Jersey, for that one. Dave, we talked about Ruggs last week with that nasty leg injury, which it seems like he's going to come out all for the better here.
Oh my God, the little boo-boo he had. You talking about Band-Aids on his leg?
I don't know. He had crutches and everything. I think it's more than
fibers.
So do you like
12 weeks out?
Well, no, this is not Deebo Samuel. So Ruggs versus Jerry Jeudy this year.
By the way, the date, no matter who it is, the date until the season starts is still the same. It's still 12 weeks.
I get it, but I don't think this is a 12-week injury for Ruggs.
Hence my point.
Oh, okay.
Who gives a shit?
All right, okay.
So I get it. His injury doesn't matter. It's 12 weeks out.
Okay, so now we're talking just talent versus talent, situation versus situation, opportunity versus opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Jeudy versus Ruggs. Who you got?
Well, obviously, because of what I just said, I'll take Jeudy.
Good stuff.
I like Judy's talent better. I feel like the team. I think he's going to integrate into the offense better, and I think actually I like Locke better than I like Carr. Already. Yeah, no, there's something to be said for that. Wasp guy says Judy's route running ability is the key. In this draft, I thought CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jeudy were on a tier above everybody else.
Ruggs is a guy, and this is why you can't trust me on this. I've never liked Ruggs because he was a guy that was committed to Florida State to play there and then flipped to Alabama, and I always hated it because I watched Ruggs just crush it for Alabama. The other thing to keep in mind
He
is
didn't really crush it, though. He didn't really perform.
he performed a lot better than the Florida State receivers that we had.
That's fine, but I mean, in reality, though, that was the other thing is he had never had a 1,000-yard season, right? So I mean, granted, he's playing.
He had two other guys.
Two other studs. Fine,
right,
I get
yeah.
it. But if you're a star, be a star. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did Jarvis Landry suck because he was playing with Odell Beckham?
No, they're both great. And
exactly.
And Devontae Smith and Jerry Jeudy are both great.
I mean, really. Yeah.
But hold on. But maybe if Justin Jefferson would have been at LSU with Beckham and Landry, he might have not done so great. But we're not denigrating him, right?
Oh, I don't like him.
Oh, well, maybe you are.
I'm kidding. But yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying.
All right. Who is the guy that Josh? Who is the Patriots?
It's the Swingers movie. The guy behind the guy.
No. Who was the guy back in the day? The Patriots drafted him. He was like a slot guy, a wide receiver at LSU. His name was Josh something.
Boyce.
Josh Boyce?
Boyce? Is that it?
Hold on, I got to look this up.
Yeah, I really like him a lot, and then he sucked.
He did suck. He totally. Josh Reed. That's who it was.
Are you sure?
Yes, it's Josh Reed. That's who I'm. The guy that he went to.
You're talking about right now?
No, not right now. This was back in the day. He was a receiver at LSU. He was pre-Beckham, pre-Landry.
All right.
And he was a guy that the Patriots drafted. And I was like, this guy's gonna be great.
Anyway, they did draft Josh Boyce in 2013 in the 4th round. But go ahead.
From LSU?
TCU.
Oh, TCU. Yeah. Okay. No, Josh Reed. You do remember this guy if I showed you a picture. He was like going to be a slot type guy where he was going to catch like 80, 90 balls, from Tom Brady, and it was going to be great. And he was awful. and quite frankly, he was better than Josh Boyce, but he was still awful.
That's funny.
Anyway, we're wandering down a path that's going to take us well into
Speaking of that,
hour
Patriots
number 2.
Receivers, N'Keal Harry. Is he going to ever be any good?
I don't think so. Why
not?
Because the Patriots drafted him in the 1st round, and their track record with that is terrible.
All right, that's not really a great argument.
No, it's a terrible argument. I go back to what Lou Tranquilli has said on this show before, former guest of not only this show but the High Stakes Lowdown.
Lou, he's an idiot.
Now he kind of attributed this to rookie running backs. He gives them like 4, 5, maybe 6 games, and then he's ready to form an opinion of them after that.
Uh-huh.
And by and large, if you look at the history,
that's correct.
That's more true than not,
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time, yeah. And I've sort of applied it to other rookies, too. Now, I don't think you can apply that to tight ends or quarterbacks, really. But I think there's something to be said for receivers, too.
Didn't he have an injury?
Harry was hurt for quite a while last year, yeah. But now look at what the situation is now. Now he's catching passes from Hoyer and Stidham or whatever.
I'm not trying to totally pimp him up or anything. But
right.
I mean, who's his competition at receiver?
You got Edelman. I'm going to bring this up.
He's a compliment to Edelman.
I just meant like for targets.
Targets, right.
Yeah.
Right. And he's got Sanu.
That guy could be cut, by the way.
They trade a 2nd-round pick for him.
This is what I've heard, and this is the scuttlebutt on the interweb.
From who? Leo on your other show?
No. Marquise Lee, they signed. That's nothing. Matthew Slater, he's a special teamer. Jacoby Myers, that guy sucks. Demir Bird, then there's nothing there. So to your point, Dave, there is not a whole lot else there. But
the cup board is bare.
They drafted those 2 rookie tight ends in Asiasi and Dalton.
Oh, those guys
Kane.
are shit, man. That's nothing.
I don't. Here's the thing. By the time they get some good, I'm not convinced. First of all, I think Hoyer stinks.
So you're saying, but even a bad quarterback throws for 3,000 yards.
And Edelman will catch 2,000. Grab Edelman all over the place.
Wow,
when
ninth round.
When have I said, dude, Edelman is the guy? I've said over and over on this show, target Edelman this year. He's going to catch a ton of passes.
Plus, you have to factor in Sony Michel for 50 yards of receiving for the year. So that's 50. Well, James White will catch 1,200.
James White will catch
1,200 for James White.
Exactly.
So James White and Edelman will have 2,400 yards between them.
But kidding aside, though, I look at this from the standpoint of okay, well, what's Harry going to be? How good is he going to be in the outside catching passes from Stidham or Hoyer? And
I'm going to put it on record. I like N'Keal Harry as a sleeper.
Okay.
There it is.
That's fine.
If you're still listening,
I do not.
mark it down.
I'll tell you this right now. N'Keal Harry is going in Football Guys drafts yesterday. He went as wide receiver 64 at the 1502. That's right behind Curtis Samuel and Golden Tate, and it's right ahead of T. Higgins, Paris Campbell, and Denzel Mims.
Oddly enough, I actually like that slotting quite a bit. I would like him way more than those other three clowns.
Who would you take between Samuel and Harry if you didn't own DJ Moore?
I would probably take Harry because of the upside. But it's good. It's actually kind of close.
You know what? I think I'd agree with you there.
Yeah. And Golden Tate's interesting because you still have to deal with Slayton and Shepard. But Tate's a talented player, and he came in, mid-year last year? So
yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like Tate a little bit.
I don't know. They got Slayton and Shepard
Tate
there.
Used to be a fourth-round pick back when he was.
Yeah, but I mean, I just, and Barkley and Ingram, no thanks.
Tate is probably the most talented receiver out of those three.
He might, and that still might not be enough to warrant a 14th-round pick on him.
Yeah, you're right. You still have Ingram to deal with.
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you two guys that are going after him that I think I like better than Harry.
Yeah.
And this may be a mistake on my part. This is the whole mystery box thing with me. I think I'd rather have T. Higgins because I don't trust A.J. Green, and I do trust the Bengals to suck and throw the ball a lot.
Don't care for T. Higgins.
Okay.
No, that's a hard pass. He's he's my undraftable.
Okay. All right. I think that they're going to be throwing a ton this year, and we saw what happens when Joe Burrow throws a ton. He's going to make a lot of plays.
Yeah, the guy who crushed it for 1 year in college. Good.
Exactly, and all he has to do is crush it 1 year for me in fantasy. Denzel Mims, I think I like too, better than Harry.
Wow.
It's same argument. I think that Bill Belichick is going to run the ball a lot this year. I think New England is going to be in a lot of slobber knockers this year, and he's not going to be lofting the ball to Harry and involving him heavily in the passing game.
At least
I think it's going to be Edelman.
You have the gunslinger Sam Darnold who's going to be launching bombs to Mims.
You kid around with that. I'm dead serious. That's what's going to happen. I don't understand why this is such a weird.
By the way, I do think Darnold has been kind of, he was like 20 coming into the NFL. I think he's been crapped on a little bit too much.
I think so too.
I think he might actually come around.
Yeah, I like him this year. Do you like you don't like Perriman, do you?
I don't mind that because he's super cheap. I mean, he's borderline free-ish.
See, and that's the reason I don't like. This is the last 2 years he's done nothing, and then the last few weeks of the year he crushes it, which I guess is good for fantasy playoffs. But
somebody's got to get yards there.
I liked Mims in the whole pre-draft process, and I still like him, rookie or not, to go that cheap.
All right, well, let's finish it up with Damian Harris value of 2020.
To me, it's not that high because we have seen what Bill Belichick does with these New England running backs. I know everybody got excited. We talked about this on the show last week about everybody got excited about Harris when Michelle had another surgery, and it looks like he might even be breaking down already, which would really suck for the Patriots. Was he a first-round pick or was he an early second-round pick, Michelle?
I thought he was late first.
Late first, yeah. To see him not perform.
Ron Meyer, too, I was just so high.
Sony Michel, no matter what.
Man, that was a theme for like a whole year.
Have one of our Kentucky teams name that this year. I think that between one of us, we should name one of them teams.
That's worse than my job at best thing. I mean, that was just,
probably
that was just a concussion issue.
Sony Michel never had a 50-point fantasy game, I'll tell you that.
Damn right.
Okay, so but James White is there, Rex Burkhead is there, Damian Harris, obviously, Sony Michel. It could work out a couple of weeks, but I'm not taking a chance on him.
I feel like you have to, in the movie National Treasure, you have to do the code breaker thing where you take that device and you put it in a bunch of different ways, and then it finally opens up.
Yeah.
I feel like Damian Harris to kill it this year. That's what you have to do. You have to get the code breaker device exactly right, and then it opens up. So I feel like that's too tough.
All right.
I don't want to have to open a code breaker device to get Damian Harris's value unlocked.
Okay, so 4 running backs that are going behind him right now that I'd rather have than Damian Harris: A.J. Dillon, Josh Kelly, Carlos Hyde, Naheem Hines. Rather have all those guys than Damian Harris.
I'm not sure about A.J. Dillon, but other than that, I agree with him.
Dude, Dillon, if Jones goes down, which, mind you, he has ended on the year on IR 2 of the last 3 seasons with knee injuries, which I know I quote on the show.
That's a big deal because then Jamal Williams will step in.
Jamal Williams, give me a break. They soaked the second-round pick in A.J. Dillon. We know the future of what the front office and the coaching staff thinks here in Green Bay.
It's actually a good point.
All right. And
by the way, I cannot argue with the Wisconsin guy who does talk shows about Wisconsin crap sports.
Yeah, but I mean,
every day, all weekend.
But I mean, you follow that too. I mean, well,
not really.
to a certain extent.
I avoid the news, local and national, so just so you know.
All right. Well, hopefully people aren't avoiding this show because I want to, first of all, thank Dominic, Roti, Dave Gerzak, the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and each and every one of you for hopping on tonight on a little extended show. I apologize, or you're welcome for that. I don't know. All right, so it's a big show next week, ladies and gentlemen. We are not on Friday. We are on Thursday. It is a special Thursday show at 10/9 Central.
Why? What do you have, ice fishing?
No, this is the poker tournament that I had to postpone because of COVID. But we're doing it this next Friday.
Oh, great. So that means I get infected on Monday?
I'm going to tell you this right now.
After your stupid tournament?
I always ask everybody to RSVP. Shockingly enough, numbers are down. So I don't know how big a tournament this is going to be. You can come if you want and play. Sure, absolutely.
Hey, yeah, I'm coming.
Okay, next Friday.
Sure, I'm in.
Okay. All right.
Is that cool? Do they care?
I can't
What's
imagine
it would. $165,
and you get, and 15 of that is for brats and beer.
I'll start saving tomorrow.
Perfect. All right. So next Thursday, 10/9 Central, we're going to have the
I don't drink beer, but that's okay. I'll bring my own wine.
Okay, that's fine. The Intersecting.com's Kevin Scott is going to be on. Kevin Scott, who, by the way, is one of the brand new Dynasty Pros versus Joe's pros.
If he is,
I believe he is.
Confirmed.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought he was.
So it's all right. Whatever. Let's talk about this after.
That's
great.
In any event, he's a really intelligent guy. He just put out a draft guide on Twitter on his website a couple of weeks ago. It's an
unformed league. I think that's where we're at.
Okay. So anyway, he's going to come on, but he's not the only guest. We're going to have FFPC casino host Greg Sidoris pop on for a little bit too.
Really?
So we're going to talk to former minor league baseball. But we'll ask him about baseball this year too, if it's going to happen. As a former minor leaguer, maybe he can give us some insight into that. So that is coming up next Thursday at 10/9 Central. Remember, book those flights and rooms out in Las Vegas. Get in on the main event early bird.
Don't worry about dying or anything.
Yeah, no, don't worry about that.
Probably won't.
You for sure won't. Probably.
Anyway, go ahead.
17 days left on that main event early bird, and then the FPC, the Football Guys Players Championship early bird. 11 days left on that. Make sure you're registering for your teams. Best Ball Slims, Dynasty Startups, and of course that 12:30 draft. 7 spots left. Sign up. Your weekend starts
this
now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com that was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again.
I actually feel pretty good about that 12:30 filling.
Me too, actually. I think it will.
I was shocked at how fast that midnight filled, so hopefully the 12:30 fills. And by the way, here's the great part about it. In case, well, I guess it doesn't make a difference because I'm speaking to the people who missed the show tonight. But by the time that 12:30 draft is over and you're still wired from drafting your Football Guys team, this show should be on YouTube by then. So you can listen to it right then and just make a whole night of it.
With all of our stolen music.
No, I didn't tell you this.
You get the license rights?
No, I don't. But YouTube has this in their studio. They have this beta version where you can mute the song itself, and like our voices still. It takes a little bit longer to do, but it's totally worth it. And then we're golden. There's no copyright claim or anything. We could actually, if we wanted to, we could monetize the video if we wanted.
Who cares?
Exactly. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week. Be safe and have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.